Welcome to the No Love Podcast, where we decrease tomorrow's divorce rate today by teaching singles and couples alike how to experience love on purpose and not by chance. I am your host, Edward L. Fairley, accompanied by my wonderful, lovely co-host, Michelle Larkin. Michelle, say hi to the people.
Hey, world. We in the house.
We're a little late today. My daughter's orientation for middle school was today, so of course I had to be at that. So I rushed home so I can get to you all because I was definitely not going to stop the show. But the good thing about having your own is you can start when you want to. So
hey, I'm not even home. I'm traveling and I didn't want to stop the show. So I was like, how can we make this happen?
That's just all kinds of love. Speaking of that, where are you? Where are you?
I am in the island of St. John, which is off the island of St. Thomas, right after the hurricane, like literally hours after it passed, I arrived. Beautiful though, beautiful, beautiful.
What's everything that you have going on? Anything new? Anything you want to share?
Nothing new this week. I'm still working on some content, but I had a lovely call this week from a friend of mine who was blessed by some of the presentations that I had made and shared with me that he had shared it with other people. So I was talking to him about how it's important to be authentic and be transparent because there may be somebody who is helped by the words that we share. And so I know every time that we talk, I tend to share my own story, and I'm blessed to be able to get the feedback that it does help. So I encourage other people to do the same. It's very valuable to listen, but also share your own overcoming story.
Most certainly. I mean, because listening is a product of someone sharing. So you're definitely contributing to someone's life, and the stuff that we go through is typically not for us. That's why it's imperative to get through so that you can assist in someone else getting through. This is actually what birthed the No Love brand, the entire No Love journey, from the book to the podcast to the now app to the board game / simulator for self-counseling. All of that is a product of me getting through something that allowed for me to assist in other people getting through. Just like you going through your journey through corporate America and training and management and things of that nature, you got through and took different jewels or aha moments and learning lessons to assist in others being able to navigate through the process more smoothly. So yeah, most certainly, definitely share when you can. And that's where the power of transparency comes from. It empowers other people who think that they're going through things on their own to be able to actually realize that they're not going through it alone, or they're not the only ones that have been through it. And just like the person that got through it, they too can get through it as well. So any other things you want to share?
I want to ask you, how is the app doing? I see you posting different pages or clicks from it. So how's it going?
App is doing good. I got iOS people that are hot with me, though. I can tell you that much, because it's not available on iOS yet.
I know the iPhone world is just
that whole culture, and I appreciate your patience, but just waiting on.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's definitely coming. And for those who are enjoying the actual Android version, or those who have yet to realize that it's available, it is free on the Google App Store. For you to download and enjoy. And also, hopefully I can find some friends and we can play against other people. Yeah, I got Jen. She's in iPhone. She said, no, it's not. It's in the Google App Store. It's not in the actual actual iPhone or iTunes, or I'm not even sure or familiar with what the terminology is, but it's not in the app in the iPhone store yet. Or the Apple Store, that's what it is. But yes, that's doing great. I'm really excited about it. I would love your feedback. I've been sharing screenshots of the experiences that I have. For those who are listening who are Android and you do have the app, please share either with me or on your wall the experiences that you're having, whether it be landing spaces or even the dating scenario cards, the relationship scenario cards, or even the actual marital status cards. So please share those and advise and share with other people, letting them know that it is available. Also, what else? You and Michelle and I, we still need to work on how we're going to have this simulation night where we can interact with the app as well as simulate the actual board game simulation as well. So we're definitely going to be working on that. I've just been extremely busy. I've been busy yet productive, thus the actual app being available. And then working on what is it that we're going to teach next, or what's going to work on, or what am I going to work on next. Typically, sometimes I don't even know until the day prior to what the actual topic is
And he
going to be.
doesn't tell me. He doesn't tell
Oh,
me before the conversation. So I
I
am just
refuse
as surprised as everybody else.
and I do it on purpose
Why
because
the facial expressions of what? But it's
I really I want it to be an organic conversation like we typically did prior to the actual podcast. It just makes for one, better content, and also is not scripted. It's really like a real conversation, and you're responding to statements or thought processes that I'm having. But typically these topics come from interactions, especially with clients that I'm interacting with, and it sparks like, this is coming up. So clearly it's something that I feel is something that needs to be addressed and talked about. So the topic of today is, matter of fact, I need to double check. Are you surviving or thriving? I'll say that again. Are you surviving or thriving? And this is so necessary because I think a lot of people are surviving as opposed to thriving. And clearly I'm going to give you the difference when it comes to relationships and how we are approaching relationships, or dating to relationship, or relationship to marriage. But from a conceptual standpoint, if you think of someone who is drowning in a pool or in an ocean or what have you, typically when the lifeguard goes to get them, they're flailing their arms, they're doing everything they can to, for lack of a better term, survive. And with that, oftentimes it's not uncommon. They're putting the person that's actually there to help or save them in harm's way or danger. There's literally some people are taught, like in the, I think it's National Guards or what have you, or any kind of training where you're supposed to be saving someone. They're taught to, if it gets really bad, to knock the person out that they're trying to save, because they're in such a survival mode that they're putting the other person in harm's way or even danger. And I wanted to use that analogy to kind of bring this home, because when you are trying to survive, it prevents you from seeing others you are in a relationship with. So when you are in a relationship, or you're dating to survive, or you're in a relationship or even marriage, when you get to a place where you're trying to survive, you can't see or even consider the other person because you're so busy trying to keep yourself afloat or happy or whatever it is that you would like to call it. So I'll kind of define survival from the dictionary as well as thriving. Survival is to endure or live through in affliction, adversity, or misery. And to thrive is to grow or develop vigorously and flourish. The operative word in thrive is to grow and develop. So when you're surviving, you're just trying to, again, keep your head above water or think about yourself in the situation. Whereas when you're thriving, you're looking at a situation and you're trying to figure out, how can I grow or evolve in this particular situation? Before I dive in, Michelle, I see the frowns, the little lines in your head and everything. So I want to know what those things mean. Please talk to me.
It's awesome, and it's reflective, and it's interesting, because I have been, the comments that you made about surviving and thriving, made me remember the things. What's been on my mind this week has been mounting up on wings of eagles, right? But
Mhm.
not from the perspective that we typically, they'll run and not be weary, and they'll walk and not faint. But eagles actually soar and float on
Above.
the thermals, and they circle and catch another updraft, and circle and catch another updraft, and circle and catch another updraft. And it's just, I was just focusing on when this space in my life where I feel like I finally hit my stride, and I'm not, the dips aren't so low. Um,
Mhm.
that that's thriving to me, and I can finally relate to catching an updraft and floating on it and circling and catching another updraft. So there's something very beautiful about watching an eagle. And I am so fortunate. There's an eagle that lives outside of my office window. Like, what? like, but I'll talk a little bit more about this as we go on. But that's what I was thinking about as you were talking about thriving was, number one, when you're surviving, you can't see the pain that you're inflicting on other people. But it's when there's also this other piece of thriving where the dips aren't so low. The fear isn't such a factor. The flailing, right? So flailing is not such a factor because an eagle kind of holds its wings out, and he
Mhm.
only kind of does a. It's called there's a name for it, but when he gets an updraft and it causes some turbulence, he just dips his wings a little bit and then he puts them back out. He doesn't ever flap when he's soaring. And so, to
Mhm.
your point, somebody who's gotten past this chapter doesn't flail. And
That's good.
it's just interesting to me that is where I have been all week.
And what I love about you bringing the eagle into the whole conversation or even the analogy is the fact that eagles they fly above the storm and they have the ability to do so. And this is technically what we're trying to do to get you to go above the storm and actually see it for what it is, without necessarily being damaged or hurt by it, but kind of being elevated by the storm,
Mm-hmm.
because the storm is actually meant in there to actually help you see you and ultimately grow
Yeah,
to
and to
where.
your point, eagles have the best eyesight.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
while they're soaring, they can see almost an ant crawling on the ground, almost a mile down. So to your point, that there's this really cool space about being mature and growing and developing to the point where you can see,
Mm,
understand, engage in, but not lose your altitude. But
yeah.
that's where I'm at right now. That's
So
what
let's
that's
get into to what survival looks like in the respective phases. Survival. Let's start with dating. Survival often looks like is I need a wife. I need a husband.
I
Yeah,
I
exactly. And when you're dating, it's like I gotta get this person, not considering the fact that, as I stated earlier, when you're trying to survive, it prevents you from seeing the other person in the relationship. And relationships is about seeing the other person. And when you cannot see them, you cannot effectively have a successful relationship. It's just not possible. When you only see yourself in the relationship, you miss any opportunities for the relationship to grow, and you definitely miss opportunities for you to grow as a person. So if you are dating and from a survival mode thinking I have to have a husband by the age of 25 or getting close to that age that I had set for me to be married or with children or what have you, that comes from a place of, for one, desperation, and also not even considering who you are really about to take this joint venture with, which in turn prevents you from being able to, for one, oftentimes those who are in survival mode have a hard time. They can go past dating to relationship, but they have a very, very hard time having the person want to transition from relationship to marriage with them. So they got the dating part down pat, and typically it's because they take care of all of this external stuff. So their presentation looks very, very good, but the problem is throughout the dating and the relationship aspect, they get to see the inside of you. And typically that has nothing to do with them and all to do with you because you're surviving. And it's not uncommon for that person to come to the table like, well, what do you have to bring to the table? And their expectations of what that other person has to bring to the table are things that they don't even have for themselves, whether it be a successful job, or a career, or a successful, or what they consider a nice vehicle or place to live, or good credit. All these things that they have from an expectation standpoint of the other person that they're trying to bring to their life so they can survive or do better because they're not doing good by themselves. They're flailing and trying to do anything from a desperate standpoint to get them. And it also puts them in a predicament where they are being used and they can't even see it because they're so caught up in trying to survive. But go ahead, I see you thinking. So go ahead and share them thoughts.
It's so funny. Is my face that transparent? Probably is. So like you said, getting caught up. I'm going to speak from my own experience because I hate to make generalities. So I'm going to speak from my own experience. But there was a time where I was so caught up in having a relationship, like checking that box. That my involvement in communication in that relationship was all about making sure I had a relationship. And that wasn't necessarily, to your point, seeing the person or allowing myself to be seen.
That's good.
However, at this point in my life, I don't feel I like myself enough not to feel like I'm going to die if I don't have a relationship. So I'm saying that in that way for a reason. But then that has allowed me to be seen, which is different. And it's funny because, again, this is an interesting conversation because where I've been all week, I was just watching people this week, even as I was traveling. We have this perception of relationship that looks like the cover of a magazine, right? Or it looks like the Hubsicles, or I'm not cute enough, or he's not cute enough, or he doesn't have this or that or the other. But if you I was standing in TSA in the line today, and I was like, look, if you look at what ends up with what, if you just look at people and you see like the cutest person with the funniest looking person, or people are just actually ordinary, but they look happy and they're engaged, and it's not because of this thing that we're chasing called, this relationship that looks like the cover of Essence. It's people are connected. People and that just I hadn't ever taken the time to see that because in my mind I had a perception of what a relationship was with a 2.5 kids, picket fence, dog, car, vacation every 6 months. Like 6-figure income. Like this is his picture, but then you just look around you for a second and just go to the grocery store and just look at people and you're like, they're pretty ordinary.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that because now when you get that picture and you conclude that that's the way it is or that's the goal, you're doing everything that you can to, from a survival standpoint, get there.
Yes, because you're surviving based on this picture. Like this picture is me or death. It's either that picture or death.
Yeah, exactly. So that's you drowning. I don't have that yet. So you're flailing to do whatever it takes to get that picture that you created in your mind. You're getting cramps and everything. Save me, help me. But that's why the no love triangle. And for those of you who don't know what the no love triangle is, I beg you to listen to the first episode. But that's why it's imperative in that the foundation is there. In the no love triangle, the foundation is self interest, which is technically self love. So when you get to that place where you absolutely love yourself, you're not in a survival mode to where you're trying to find or need someone. You're looking for someone that will complement what you already have, not bring what you're void of or you lack. T Mac, she says relationship is a status for many people. Like being in what seems like a successful relationship confirms your success at certain age. Especially women, they feel pressure to be in a relationship, but no healthy enough to be there, or not healthy enough to be there. This is what I mean by you have to find love in yourself. It is like when you get to a place where you love being alone, that is the only time you should be dating in the first place. Because when you
I'm on
love being
vacation
alone,
by myself.
by
There's
herself.
nobody here but me.
Yes, and
And I'm okay.
that
I'm
view is
okay.
lovely
I
that you
got
sent.
cute clothes. Got cute
That,
clothes. I'm gonna have a good time. Follow me. I'm fine. Fine.
but yes, so it is so important to get to that place, because when you get to that place, you are being very selective about who you're adding to your time and to your life. And you will not allow for anyone that will take the joy that you already have with you and drain you from that. So it is so important for you to make sure that you are at a place where you love yourself, which is thriving, because you are going and growing and developing through life and flourishing by yourself, which in turn, a person
It
that's
makes you more
that way.
attractive. It makes you very attractive.
That's so sexy, so sexy.
Just saying.
I mean, it is.
I had no idea. I wish I had known earlier.
To not seem desperate. I mean, that is definitely a very attractive and sexy place to be in. And again, it causes the person to be intrigued by you and interested in you, because when you have no depth and you're not into you, you don't really have much to offer. So to learn you is real quick in the dating phase or in a relationship phase, because all you have is your exterior. And let some water hit your face or whatever and knock everything that you hide off. You pretty much you might really ruin the whole setup, or let your clothes and stuff just get.
But that goes to what I was saying, is that we have this perception of what a relationship is, so we put on the mask and the uniform that will allow us to be in that space and be okay, right? And so there's this, and to T-Mac's point, there's it's a status, right? And then there's this thing, it's not even like, and I'm in a cool place right now, but that we get to a point where I have to show this off. So it's not enough that I have a relationship. I have to make sure I tout this person around with me so everybody else sees that I'm in a relationship. And then I have to make sure that I don't listen to my friends as they comment on this relationship, which brings more drama into the relationship, which now we're focused on the relationship and not the person, right? So me at this point, I'm like, I'm in a relationship, and I am just like, at first I was so torn with like, aren't I supposed to be touting this out in the street? Like, aren't I supposed to be, like making sure this person, everybody sees that I have this person? But then there's a part of me, the part that likes me is like, but I'm happy.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to make sure everybody else sees that I'm happy?
The irony is the next portion of survival is status survival. That's the next point. We're in a relationship, it's status, and that's relationship and marriage. Posting that everything is great and wonderful, and you would be amazed how many people that I'm literally counseling, and they're either separated or whatever, and they're doing all of this posting like they're doing wonderful and everything's great. And I just, for the life of me, cannot understand that, but at the same time I can, which is why we can teach this and have this this conversation. But it's a survival status, a status survival. So you're trying to maintain an illusion because you're concerned about how you look based off of that picture that you want other people to adopt as your truth, as opposed to addressing the actual truth so that you can possibly get to your truth. So we're doing all of, and I'm like, I think to myself, like, how is the other person looking at this? Like, I know, first of all, we're not even staying in the same household. And that's how separated we are. And we're posting all of this, my boo, the most beautiful thing in this world, and shout out to such and such on her birthday and all of this stuff. And I'm like, you all are not even talking like that. Like, I literally I just got off the phone with you a week or so ago, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to talk you down from what you're thinking about doing or what's going on with y'all. And I just don't understand, like, why even post anything at all? But again,
keeping up appearances.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And also to it's like they're thinking about other people. And interestingly enough, remember how I stated that, trying to survive prevents you from seeing others. And I should say considering others, because when you're seeing, a lot of people are making their responses based off of seeing others. And what I mean by that is when we talked about the I need a wife, I need a husband, they're seeing other people that have it, and that's what they want, but it's preventing them from seeing or understanding or learning the person that they're actually in a relationship with, because they're so caught up in trying to bring a picture that other people that they want other people to see to like.
There's a difference between possessing a person and being in a relationship. Like there's a difference between achieving that goal and being engaged. Like there's a difference. Like there are some people who check the box and it becomes some sort of peaceful coexistence so that both people can check the box. But there's a difference when it's a fulfilling kind of engaging thing. And so what are we really chasing? Having my experience has been chase the goal, the status that much like a degree. It was very similar. Like it was the same. It's a milestone in life. Is after you get to this point, you get this and you move to this and you do that.
You're validated.
Yeah, it was part of the milestones of a successful life is to have a person in your life. But having done it and not been fulfilled, I was like, so why are we doing this?
That is the operative word. That is definitely the operative word. Fulfillment, being fulfilled. If it's just a check and it's not a actual relationship where you two are collectively growing individually or harmoniously as individuals, and there's no fulfillment in it, then it's definitely a struggle, and you're flailing. You are flailing. It's like it has nothing to do.
Keep your head above water, just constantly.
Yeah. If I can ask you what made you share that post, and it has absolutely nothing to do with them, or even like you just felt like expressing your love for that person, then I can assure you there's some serious issues, and your decision making has absolutely nothing to do with that relationship, which is literally killing and destroying the relationship, because you're not invested in the relationship, you're invested in how people view the relationship. And I actually looked at the red table with the Jada Pinkett and Will, and he talked about that. It was the picture, and that was literally destroying their relationship. And I thought that was a very, very profound realization.
It takes a brave person to step away from status quo. It takes a brave person to challenge what we've all socialized as an expectation of a relationship. And that's why we are surviving, right? Because there's a part of us that's like, I don't want to do this because it's not fulfilling, but I have to do it because everybody else does it. So I'm literally flailing around trying to do what everybody else is telling me to do.
Exactly. What everyone else expects me to do, or my mom, my pastor, my whatever. Like, you should not be making a decision about the rest of your life in the bed that you're about to lay in for someone that is outside of you. It blows my mind, but this is a very common thing from childhood to school to career to who you marry, and I see it on a daily basis. And it's funny that you brought up the picture, because so many people who are in my circle who like when they hear about how me and my wife interact, they be like, wait, what? Y'all, this is not what
I did. I was like, what?
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna give a good example.
What happens to, like, can you be nice?
I give a good example of that. Maybe 80% of an entire year, I sleep in the same bed as my wife. Mind's blown, right? Maybe.
Do you have your own? Do you have a room? You have a room.
Yeah, I'm in the room that I typically. I typically sleep in like probably 20%. So we talking about what marriages and relationships look like. So let's do it. Like if you took now, me and my wife, we're going on 15 years, and we absolutely enjoy and love each other.
They
But
do. I have been in the room. They actually
maybe
enjoy each other's
maybe,
company and have great.
maybe 20%. Now, the average person, if I said that just in passing, they'd be like, "Oh, they struggling. What is going on with this? There's got to be something wrong." Actually, there's absolutely nothing wrong. There's a couple of things. One, my wife likes to sleep with the TV on, and I'm very, very protective of my subconscious mind. So if I'm not up and I'm not conscious and I don't know what's going on in my subconscious mind, I do know that what goes in your head, you cannot take it out. So, and oftentimes I do a lot of praying and meditating. So I feel that God, from a spiritual sense, he speaks in very, very still voice. So if I have a lot of noise around me, I can't hear what it is that he has to say to me. So I try to have as much quiet time as I can and rest. So and again, what my wife likes to watch, I don't even watch television unless it's something that is referred to me, and those who refer it to me, they know what it is that I'm interested in or into, so I will go ahead and watch that. But I know what I'm about to consume, and I'm intentional about what I consume. So that's the biggest thing. And again, oftentimes I like silence. So if I go in a room and my wife is just watching, like I decide I want to go lay in the room, and I see that she's going to bed to maybe Golden Girls, like a whole marathon of Golden Girls, or a whole marathon of Cosby Show. I'm like, I'm not gonna die or have something that is gonna destroy me if I fall asleep to the Cosby Show. Now, if she's going to sleep and she's watching Criminal Minds or the First 48, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go sleep in the office or the couch, or sometimes my baby's boy bunk bed, wherever I see fit to lay and go to sleep. That's what I do. And oftentimes she might be asleep before me anyway. So that's just a choice that I make. Does it mean we have a terrible marriage? No, absolutely love each other, and we definitely use our bed. So, but we
I
just
think as a parent, it challenges the status quo. It challenges the story, right?
exactly.
Because the story,
But
the princess story, or whatever the story is in your head, typically it's like the reason 9 times out of 10, and I'm gonna speak for myself, but the reason people want to live together is so they can sleep in the same bed or be in there when they wake up in the morning and when they go to back to bed at night. They want to see this person. And
yeah,
for you to say that that isn't the end all be all of your relationship
no,
challenges the picture. I
no,
mean, it does challenge the picture a little bit. And I appreciate it because, to be honest, it opened, I think it was a couple of years ago we had this conversation, and I was like, that's interesting because I like me. I'd be alone. Like, do I really need to be? I don't know.
yeah, yeah. But check this out. I'm probably talking too much now. My wife's gonna talk to me later about it. But
Names have
how
been
many people?
changed to protect the
How many
innocent.
people can send that text? Hey, I'm down the hall in this office.
I know, right? How much fun is that? It's like
Come see me and whatever. Like, so when y'all all in the bedroom all the time, when can y'all do that? So what kind of spontaneous situations y'all got set up?
I didn't just slide over.
When we sneaking over into each other's rooms or different locations, we still got that same type of setup like when we were in a relationship or dating, where we come by each other's place and we meet whatever. So, but you see my head moving. You got, but yes, that is not a typical statement. The people like, well, would you buy your wife for Valentine's Day? Nothing, not never, won't, ever, not a thing. Well, what you mean? Like, that's just not a thing. That's not something that I do. I won't do anything that people tell me I need to do for my wife. And I personally don't feel that my wife is going to feel special about getting flowers and balloons when everybody else is getting flowers and balloons. So I get my wife flowers and balloons and cards on days that other people aren't. So when she gets them, she does feel special. That's just the way my thought process goes.
Isn't it about feeling special? So there's a difference between surviving and thriving.
Yeah.
Surviving is like you're chasing something and you're trying to feel special versus thriving where you have moments where you just feel special with not a lot of effort.
Exactly.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I get it though. I mean,
So
I always wanted when I was married, I was chasing the story like 2.5 kids, picket fence, and a dog. But my psyche, my person, who I am, is an entrepreneur, and I'm a pretty driven person. And there's a part of me that's very attracted to very successful, driven people because of the way their mind works. However,
yeah.
guess what? That person is not sitting home in front of the TV every night because they're driven
Exactly.
and they're doing stuff. So like, you can't be mad. They
Exactly.
like because that's what
Exactly.
you want.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
So it made
So
me check myself when I went, wait a minute, is it really bad if they're not twiddling their thumbs waiting to call me every night at 9 o'clock and sit up under me every day? Is that a problem? Not
yeah.
really.
Yeah. Another thing, I might be on the phone literally at 12:30, 2 o'clock. We've been up late with the woman on the phone, just having casual conversation. My wife gets up and she like, that's not that to y'all. Most people will look be like, who is he talking to at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning? That is a thing. That is a thing for
And
me.
I can attest to it's very productive conversation.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's usually when
exactly.
an idea hits or it's like
Yes,
getting
yes,
it. It's in the ego space, right? So it's in the ego space where you're getting an updraft, and it's actually contributing to your life. It's not taken away. It's actually like you're getting on a, and it's a good moment. I mean, it doesn't. You know, that's the awesome thing too. I think that now we've shifted into the paradigm challenge of relationships, but it's an interesting thing. There's a high level of trust when you can be the person that you were before you were engaged or married or whatever. If you
yeah,
had friends and you weren't physically involved with them, right? So you have male friends or female friends and they were your friends. And then if you can keep that after your marriage or engagement or relationship, that's, you know, because some people make you carve that out and be like, you can't have those friends anymore. But then you kind of cut off one of their arms.
and and uh and male or female, by the way, and no matter and think about these time frames that I just ended. How do I end my calls? Love you. Have a good one. Am I lying, Michelle? Am I lying?
To an
That's
outside party, it would sound crazy because I say I love you too. But I'd be like, it's very like to a third person. I'm sure they'd be like,
yeah, it does. Well, typically,
however,
if you
I
just
we
got into
I said that
that
with,
place
to
or
the
that space
family.
with me, they feel uncomfortable. I've literally had guys that be like, "Yo, I think I just said I love you back to Eddie." Like that's just how I am. That's how my calls are concluded, and that's how it is. But my wife is secure. Now, has that always been the case? No, we've had to grow and thrive to that place. So that is definitely something that can be understood. But again, I'm just sharing this because people have these thought processes or visions of what a relationship is or whatever, and it's like, oh, so you think you could uh be married to me? Do you really know what that? Because are you secure enough to be able to? So people want these things that they're seeing, but they don't know the dynamics of the actual relationship, and it could be a very successful and thriving relationship. So let's go into other survival things. We have, oh, this is a good one. So, I'm gonna call it Plan Bs. It's real. Plan Bs and Plan Bs, they're categorical. So porn could be a Plan B. She ain't giving me none. I can take care of myself. He ain't giving me none. I can take care of myself. This nice young bullet, or this dildo, or whatever you want to do. I can take care of that. I ain't got to do that.
I can
Yeah,
hang.
I can hang. But when you're surviving, again, we're not thinking about the other person. So I'm gonna get mine. And what that's doing is you're preventing, for one, yourself from finding out why they are not giving you whatever, what's lacking, what's missing. That could be a mirror to help you to actually have a better experience with them in that respective area or bedroom, for lack of a better term. So as we talked about last week, how maturity things or whatever, we're running from things instead of addressing things that could be preventative. And especially, I can tell you, I had a serious aha moment, and what was very interesting when I struggle with self-esteem, and sex being a form of communication to me is what I felt. So if you did not want to share that with me, to me it felt like you didn't care, because that was my way of expressing how I felt. And it was my way of expressing how I felt past the words that I could share to show you how much I felt about you. So if you didn't want to share that with me, to me it felt like, because I was not aware of, it's not that I don't love you, we just don't love alike, like I teach now. My mindset was, if they don't love me the way that I love, then clearly they don't love me. And that was also a self-esteem issue as well. So interestingly enough, when I was thirsty, because I wanted to feel reassured or feel loved, I was always wanting to do that all the time. And that was my way of expressing, or supposedly thinking that I'm expressing love. And when I was rejected, I had a plan B. I ain't got to shoot. I will go get me some strawberry cheesecake with extra cheesecake in it, or watch some porn or whatever. Hey, I can take care of it myself. But what was deprived is the other person, and why. Like, what is actually the actual problem? And interestingly enough, when I fell in love with myself, and I became, and that wasn't something that I needed, that made me more sexy, to where it's like, now she can't get enough of me because I'm into me, so is she. So oftentimes the things that we think would be helpful, trying to be thirsty or going to get it, it's actually getting to a place where you don't need it, is when it's actually coming coming to you, or makes you more attractive. Also, plan Bs can be having relationships with persons who they are passionate or interested in the same things that you're passionate or interested in, which in turn prevents you from now feeding your relationship, because now you're not conversing with your respective relationship partner, spouse. And that is also killing the relationship, because the dog that you feed is the dog that comes back and grows. What you starve is going to die. So if you're not utilizing or communicating or interacting or going towards, and again, we said thrive is to grow and develop vigorously, so that you can flourish, or flourishing. It is when you go and address that issue or the struggle to figure out what is causing it, what is the root of it, pulling it at the root, so that you now can actually thrive in that respective situation. That's where the growth of you in the relationship comes from. But go ahead, Michelle. I saw you write twice, so you got something.
Just, plan B, the term resonated, and yours was, was from a sexual standpoint. Mine was more from attention standpoint. I know I need attention. I like attention. I need attention. I give attention. It's one of my languages of love. And if I felt like if I wasn't getting attention, then I wasn't being loved. And so my plan B was, I'm only going to give you what you give me. So but it created a barrier, like as goes to our last week's conversation, which was, I was never really vulnerable, because I was hedging my bets. Like, I'm holding on to my whole self until you give me your whole self. And that's a tug of war that never gets won.
You got it. Got that right.
It just creates confusion, honestly, and falling in love with yourself, which takes time. Like sometimes you just are surprised that you've fallen for somebody, and falling is not really the right word, but when you identify that you love yourself, sometimes it's like, oh my God, I love myself. Not
Mm,
I've achieved love for myself on today because I checked these 17 boxes and now I feel I love myself. It's
yeah,
more like sometimes like, and I say that because my plan B used to be I'm gonna hold on to myself until I trust and I get from you what I need, and then I'll start to give. This person, when I noticed that I was giving without feeling the need to get reciprocation, and I
yeah,
was just, but I enjoy the giving.
yeah,
I realized, wait a minute, I don't feel a sense of loss, or loss of control.
yeah.
Although a couple weeks ago I was giggling because the Eagles, the mating dance for Eagles is that death spiral.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah,
was, I was feeling like I'm losing control here because I'm giving, 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 giving. It doesn't hurt me. I'm not sure if the other person's giving it, and I'm losing control. And then I was like, wait a minute,
no, you're gaining control. You're gaining
you're
control.
actually
You're
doing from a good space, and you're not losing. And so,
gaining control.
again, like this is an aha moment, right? So I say
Yeah,
I love myself, and I'm gradually learning that I love myself more every day from
yeah,
little things that happen. And I say that because, like I said, it's not a moment. You like blind in the sand. I love myself today.
yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting you brought up love language, and I love it because that is the only book that I've read thus far that's the closest to what I teach. Um,
It's a
and
good one.
and and yeah, shout out to the book Love Language. The only issue that I have with it, and the reason why I love it so much, first and foremost, let me share why I love it so much before I dive into what's kind of dangerous about it. Is it's the first book that moves away from generalizing male and female. Every other book prior to that book, it had you thinking, oh, men are a certain way, women are a certain way, which again is generalizing people, and or sexes, and it prevents us from realizing that we're very, very similar, if not identical. And we miss out on opportunities to connect because we make assumptions about the gender because we're taught that this is how a gender is and all of this nonsense, which also forces us to put ourselves in the box from a gender standpoint, find things that we see or had experiences that align with what they said, and now we adopt that as truth, and it's not. It's just true, which the difference between truth and true is it's true at that moment. Right now, I can say it's dark. It's true. Will that be the same in 10 hours? No, it will be. It is not truth. Truth is something that always is. And so the love languages finally got people to stop thinking about gender, and it actually shifted their thought process, broadened their mindset to say, okay, it's not about gender. So now people are jumping on this bandwagon of, oh, I'm a toucher. I need affirmation. I need all of these different things, which unfortunately is compartmentalizing again. And it's just adding
But people are
more.
fluid. We tend to fluctuate between those things, but it's about
Which is
communicating where you are
my
in.
point, which is why I teach individuality. Like that is truth. You are an individual, period. Because when we start to compartmentalize, we start to put ourselves again in new boxes, and we try to learn about each other based off of this box that we put ourselves in. And now we're trying to learn each other from what the book says instead of just learning one another. Not to mention there's going to be exceptions to the rule because, as you stated, we're fluid. And the proof is in the pudding because we just talked about how I felt my love language at that time technically would have been touch. But as I grew and started loving myself, I don't need your touch to feel loved. You understand what I'm saying? So when I got
It's a
into the
cycle.
space of love, the actual love, I don't need your touch to feel loved.
Love
It's
is not
already
sex.
in me. No, I agree. But see, but that's what you're talking about with love languages. Her love language is touch. No, that person just likes to be touched, but at the same time, that person could very well have self-esteem issues that need to be resolved to where she doesn't need that touch or he doesn't need that touch to feel love. You understand what I'm saying? So,
It's,
so
it's where
it,
you are today. It's like emotional intelligence. It evolves with you and with
oh yeah,
wisdom.
most certainly. And now evolve is the operative word because evolve it implies evolution and growth. Now, if you're not growing and you're not evolving, you're stuck in just like it says, well, Scorpio, Leo, or Pisces, this is how you're going to think, view, act, or whatever. You're going to adopt that as truth, and you're going to align yourself to that to make the truth that you adopted as truth, which is not truth, real. And that's what we do on a daily basis. We take the stuff that we see is true. Well, that did happen to me. He was trifling, so all men are trifling. No, that's not truth. That is an experience that you had, and now you're making that a general thing, and it's just not truth. It just was an experience that you had. But go ahead. You put the finger up.
Because I am very much a structured person in my mind, right? So I had figured out what box I was in. I had defined myself, put myself in a box, and I was dating somebody at one point, and I was like, here's my dossier. Since you're having a problem, can't understand me, let me tell you, I'm a Taurus.
Oh my God.
Program manager. I do here's my love language. I had a file, and I gave it to him, and I was like, here.
Now, the crazy thing about it is, on a bad day, are you those things? On a great day, are you those things? Like, it's circumstantial. And my wife knows me. My children know me. And they're like, it's not something you want to ask Dad right now. It's not something you want to deal with right now. Like, it's like that test or that conclusion could have been made at a certain time in your life, it's a certain space that is just not accurate. And it's kind of like calling yourself a Democrat or a Republican. Like, if you really read through the beliefs of both parties, like you wouldn't be human if you felt that you align with one party. So it's interesting. But that's what the whole plan B is, and from a from a marital standpoint, because this is very common when I'm counseling marital folks, to think that it is their spouse's job to make them happy. First of all, that is an impossible task. So please understand that. And so oftentimes we go and we have these plan Bs of persons that, again, align with our passions, things that we like. So we think that person is making us happy. No, you're just deciding to be happy to be around a person that likes to do what you do. And your happiness is predicated on your thought process and how you view. And you need to get to a place where you're happy with yourself, and it's not the responsibility of your spouse. And that will make your life in your situations
it lets them off the hook, for crying out loud.
Yeah, and it lets you off the hook. See, that's the thing. That's why it's so imperative for you to be the first one to initiate these types of things, because when you relieve your spouse of being responsible for your happiness, you too, because remember, we don't experience what we don't first do, and we don't believe that it's even possible. Like, whether it be forgiveness, loving unconditionally, all those things, it's not until we do it that we really believe that it can be done to us. So it's not until we release that truth or the ability for something to be done that we can even receive it being done to us. So it's imperative that we are the first persons to do it, because typically the other person is waiting anyway. That's how much power in you doing it first is, because when you do it, for one, you give yourself the permission to receive it, because now you know it can be done. And two, you make the person want to do it because you inspire them through your actions to actually reciprocate, as you stated. Now, when you're doing it with the intent of it being reciprocated, which is not love, it's manipulation, then it doesn't work out the way, or it doesn't work as fast as you want it to, because you were doing it that way. So you miss out on the opportunity of receiving it, because you automatically revert back to how you were acting because they didn't do what it is that I wanted them to do. Go ahead.
Well, going back to the surviving, and this goes back to piggybacking on your current statements, it's kind of like when you're surviving, you don't enjoy the process. When you're not focused on the bottom and a rung of the triangle, which is self knowledge and awareness and evolution, you don't get to enjoy the process of getting to know the person. You're focused on the end game. You're focused on this achievement of possessing them, jumping the broom, being able to post and present them as the thing that you've conquered. And then you miss the whole process of learning and just enjoying the process. And I was forced into this, and I say that because the person that I like was very like, just enjoy the time. Like, can you just enjoy? And I was like, no, which
That's what I have to tell you. Like I'm always like what?
What are we doing here? Where's this going? But taking that off the table, like take what are we doing and where is this going off the table for a second? And that's not to say that it never comes back on the table, but if you take it off the table for a second, you can just see the person. Like just see them, not what this is going to be 10 years from now or what this is supposed to be in 6 months. And there's something really precious about the way that we're able to get to know each other. Like that's a really cool thing.
Yeah. Being is such a cool thing. That is always my conversation with you. I'm like, can you just be, Michelle? Can you just,
that was not an easy deal. For somebody who's always gotten a checklist and an agenda,
I'm like, just be.
Nope.
Be in the moment. Be like, when it's so stressful when you're strategizing, trying to figure out what the next move is. And all, like you're not enjoying at all, and you're either stuck in the future or stuck in the past, and you're not even enjoying what's happening right now. Which again it's not allowing for you to interact or even appreciate the person that is right in front of you, because you're so focused on trying to stage this scene that you want to happen that you're not enjoying it at all. Like the whole reason why we hire a wedding planner or whatever is so that we can enjoy. They're the ones that's supposed to be staging and making sure everything works out. But you're supposed to be in the moment and rest in that so that you don't have to be stressed and trying to focus.
That is a very powerful phrase, rest in that. If you can get to the point where you trust that this person is there because they want to be and you're there because you want to be, you can literally rest in that. And then it's not about, oh my God, what are they doing when I don't see them? Or what are they doing when they're not around? Or are they always thinking of me? Does that mean it's kind of like, but we're here because we want to be here.
Yeah. Now, this is going to be a touchy one, but this is real. Survival. Staying together for the kids. This I see so often. Statistics say
that's touchy.
2-parent household and all of this stuff, statistics. And I get this question a lot. I'm trying to stay together for my kids, or we're going to stay together until they get through high school, and then we're going to separate and all of this stuff because it's better for the kids. Because statistically, it's this. Statistically, is that. So they'll ask me, what should they do? One thing, I don't give advice anyway. I always give the whole picture and to educate you enough to make your own decision. And my decision or the story that I share in this is the answer is yes and no. It's a yes and no answer to should I stay together for the children. So first and foremost, let's talk about what we're talking about. We're talking about status again. And the subject, so to speak, would be the children. And we're talking about status and how it looks. So based on the statistics that you did research on, it's better to stay for the children. I didn't even say divorce. I'm talking about separating. And the yes and no is, I say, if the way that you two are interacting with one another around these kids that you're staying together for is a perfect example of the type of relationship that you want them to end up in, yes, stay for the kids. But if the relationship that you all are showing them as the norm for a relationship is not the relationship that you think that they should aspire to have when they get older, because that's what they're learning a relationship is and what love looks like, then no, you should not stay for the kids, because they are getting all of their pointers and their lessons about love from you and mom and dad's relationship. So how you all interact, the silent treatment, the staying away from each other, the sharp statements, always arguing. This is why people that were in abusive households end up abusing their wives or their spouses, because they stayed together for the kids. They're learning these behaviors and they're concluding them to be norms, and they're creating a cycle. that is repeating itself. So if it would be best for you two to separate and them see you in two separate relationships where there's love on both ends that you would want them to aspire to have in their respective relationship, especially if you're being disrespected or abused or anything of that nature. If that is not something that you want them to conclude is the way their relationship should be, then you should not be staying together for the kids. You should not be staying together because it's good. It looks good for the pastor. It looks good for for your mom and dad. It looks good for whatever, or it even looks good for statistics. Then it's something that you need to make a serious decision. But in the end, from a contextual standpoint, this is the equivalent of you're surviving, and it's preventing you from seeing the other people in a relationship. The people in a relationship are actually the children. So you trying to stage this thing or make this picture stay together for the children, you're actually not seeing the kids and how it is impacting them. Go ahead, Michelle.
You know, that hits close to home because I've been through that literally. And my thought process was that, what am I really showing my kids? I think if I had more information like this or had more transparency in the people around me who were in marriage relationships and how they got through difficult situations, I may have had better information. But I can, either way, it requires doing the work. Because once you have children in the mix, if you stay together and you don't do the work of laying a good foundation for how you want them to be as adults, you're going to reap what you sow. If you leave and you don't do the work of showing them that this is a different choice that has consequences that you still have to work through. Like, you still have to do the work. If you stay, you got to do the work. If you leave, you got to do the work to make sure that you are being the parent that your children need. And that is not easy, regardless of whether you stay or leave. But you can't just abdicate the process and decide, well, if I stay, then I don't have to work as hard because at least there's two people in the house and it looks good. Or it checks the boxes, which we were saying earlier. You are chasing this milestone, this achievement, this representation of family that somebody decided was absolutely correct. And you're hiding behind a veneer that is very shallow and is very broken. And who's that helping?
Yeah. And you know, what you don't say is just as loud or even probably louder than what you don't say. What you're not commenting on or responding to. And that's why, especially when I've been on radio shows that I've been invited to, and it's like, I don't want to say anything, but if I don't say anything while I'm on this show about what he just said or she just said, they're going to conclude that I'm in agreement. Yeah, exactly. I'm not trying to cause conflict or whatever, but I cannot allow for the people that are listening to assume that I'm on board with this trash. It needs to be understood, and you need to walk away with either two different thought processes so that you can make a decision, an educated decision, but you won't leave assuming that I was on board with that mess. I'm not doing it. I won't do it. I take these platforms very, very seriously. So that pretty much concludes this very interesting topic. Sis, what do you have anything that you want to share in conclusion?
I'm gonna go back to the ego, because again, this to me is about finding your updraft, right? And finding out how to get past flapping your wings to get to the altitude where you can soar, right? So we all kind of go through that for a while. But at some point, you want to get to the altitude, the wisdom, the growth, the development, where you can spread your wings in comfort and coast on the updrafts of life, right? And just kind of be in that space of soaring. It's possible, it's achievable, and it comes in stages. Like we are all children, young adults, seniors. We all have moments in chapters or sections of our life where we're flapping our wings, and we get there. So it's an achievable dream. And it's what thriving feels like. It feels like soaring. It doesn't mean that you stay at the same altitude. You do fluctuate. It feels like perspective. It feels like um, ease, not
Hmm.
necessarily constantly achieving, but it feels like ease because you have the wisdom and the perspective and the ability to soar and to see. So again, what I hope that we're taking away from this is you could be in a surviving space, but hopefully listening to this, reflecting on things before that we've said in the past, you move through that to the next chapter. Uh, I'm looking forward to the chapters ahead. I'm in an awesome space, but I'm looking forward to the chapters ahead, and I encourage everybody to just kind of take a moment and be. And if it's uncomfortable, do it anyway.
Exactly. I I survived my first 3, 4 years of marriage, and it was hell.
I'm divorced.
Uh,
You know I've been through hell.
and
Seriously.
when I began to grow and develop through the relationship and thrive, that is where our relationship we realized that love has levels and depth, and those challenges were just stepping stones to allow for us to have an absolutely wonderful, transparent, and liberating relationship and friendship that is standing the test of, like, we like the stuff that we've been through, and the operative word is through. um, if had we not gone through it, we, for one, wouldn't have realized how much we loved each other, and two, the stuff that we look at now is like, really, this is a joke compared to anything that we've been through, which makes it easy to get through, and we can have an easy conversation that allows for us to maneuver through our different challenges, the very few and far in between challenges that we do have, but it's easy because we know each other. And when I say know each other, we know one another and we know ourselves, which in turn allows for us to maneuver through the actual situation much easier, whereby in the past it would have been a problem, but now it's just a opportunity for us to grow and see a blind spot that we may have not realized that we had. So to survive is to think about yourself. And there's no successful relationship when you're being selfish. It's not possible. If you only see you, you will end up just seeing yourself. How about that? If you only hashtag nine that. If you only see you, you'll end up just seeing you. Because you have lost the companionship and the partner that you were once involved with, because no one's interested in not being valued when it comes to a relationship. So first love yourself, which in turn will allow for you to love them appropriately, because you won't need them. And when you don't need anyone, you can lead them. You can't lead who you need. And it's hard for you to lead yourselves to
You can't
higher
lead who you
levels.
need. Is that what you said?
Can't lead who you need. You sure can't.
Hashtag nine that. Can't lead who you need.
You can't lead who you need. And when it gets to a place where you need your wife or need your husband, you cannot help them get to different places because you need them. Before I conclude, I've been, interestingly enough, asked, and this is very uncomfortable for me to share, but people have been donating to No Love Inc. They've been literally reaching out to me, text messaging me, or emailing me. How can I donate to
So
the
much
cause? So
ahead. Thank you so much. Thank
I'm
you.
I'm gonna share. So I've had people inbox me. What is your PayPal account, or what is your cash? What is it? Cash App. So my Cash App is No Love Inc. That's KNOWLOVEINC. My PayPal is Love to Enlighten You. That's LOVE. The number two, Enlighten, ENLIGHTEN. The letter U at gmail.com. And those are places where you can donate to the cause. I'm only doing this because my grandmother used to get on me about blocking people's blessings. When people are only blessed who bless you. So if you block someone from blessing you, you block their blessing. This is very uncomfortable. I can't stress this enough for me to share. But again, my Cash App is No Love Inc. KNOWLOVEINC. And my PayPal is love2enlightenyou@gmail.com. That's LOVE, the number 2, enlighten, ENLIGHT, EN in the letter U @gmail.com. If you feel that this information and content is blessing you or could possibly bless others, please, you can go to any podcast platform and share what you're listening to, or subscribe to the respective show on that particular platform. Or you can go to the YouTube channel. We have a No Love Podcast YouTube channel where you can literally see us. For those who have never seen who we are, you always have those radio voices. You're like, I wonder how that person looks, or or you be like, dang, I never thought that he would look like that, or she would look like that. So so you can have that quick experience. You can visit us at the No Love Podcast YouTube channel if you want to be a part of these conversations. We typically are on 7:30. Today it was 7:45 on Thursday nights at the my Facebook page, which is Edward Levar, Levar, Fairley. That's F as in Frank, AIRLEY. If you want to interact with us as people are doing, I got a #9. Be an eagle and fly above the storm, and not only survive, thrive. True, Miss Robinson. That's #9 for Michelle. But I can't stress to you all enough how much your minds and time mean to me, and the fact that you all take your hour or hour and a half, in this case, hour and 15 minutes of time just to listen to what it is that we have to say and what we have to share. And we're definitely on a mission to just bringing true and unconditional love on earth, because I'm a firm believer that if we can take care of people individually loving themselves, we take care of relationships. If we take care of the love of relationships, we're taking care of love in families, which in turn leads over to communities, cities, states, in actually countries, and ultimately the world. A lot of the things that we are building and creating are just band-aids for open wounds, whereby love can literally conquer all of those things, because you've got things like prejudice, violence, poverty. All those things are because of lack of love. If we got to a place where we loved each other, we would help each other, and we wouldn't hate each other, which resolves poverty issues, hate issues, all kinds of issues that just love and unconditional love can fix. So if we get to the root of those things, we would take care of everything else. So that's what we're trying to do here. We appreciate you all. Please continue to share the No Love app. Please, I want to see some screenshots. What y'all
are? Get to at least 1,000. So help us get to 1,000 users of the app, so we can get really good data, so we can invest in those.
It's definitely a frustrating process, but I'd rather you go through that frustrating process of trying to get to No Love in the simulator, as opposed to going through years of going through the survival, as opposed to thriving in real life. So again, I appreciate your minds and time. I love y'all. Y'all be safe, and until we meet next time. Peace.
Love you. Bye.